Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. We are back with episode 2 of Ask Abby, where I read your juicy questions and stories and give best friend / big sister advice, all while putting on skincare and makeup. If you missed episode 1, I will be sure to list that in the description box of this video. I would definitely recommend checking that out so you can hear more about the backstory behind this series and really why I created it in the first place. And make sure that you are following me on Instagram, because that is where I keep track of all of the questions that you have for this series, and that's where I post the form for you to submit questions. Otherwise, if you're already following me on Instagram and you've already seen episode 1, let's jump right into it. I don't even want to talk about it. This is just what happens when I'm testing a new self-tanner every week, because even when I do everything that I normally do to prevent my hands from turning orange, sometimes a new formula just screws me over, and it ends up like this. We cannot begin without the mist. All right, question number 1. I broke up with this guy 5 years ago. It was a time of transition / stress for both of us, but he didn't handle things well. We lived together and he would do things like blend smoothies at 3 a.m., waking me up, or making it hard for me to study for a big exam because he was gaming. He also sometimes took his frustrations out by picking fights with me. It was a very hard breakup. 5 years later, we're both in more secure places, and I'm exploring the idea of getting back together with him, but my friends remind me of what happened. Can people change? Is it worth another shot? I absolutely think that people can change. I think about who I was 5 years ago, and I'm like, who is she? I feel like I don't even recognize that person because I have grown and changed so much. But in saying that, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone changes, especially in positive ways. I think a lot of people are very stuck in their ways and in their personality, and they're not looking to make improvements. I think if I were you, I would ask myself if the issues were more so just related to the living situation and you guys maybe not being old enough to handle that maturely, i.e. like him not being a very considerate roommate at the time, or is the big issue really that he's just not as considerate of a person as you may need him to be? And some degree of fighting and bickering is inevitable in relationships, but if you felt like there was a consistent pattern of him picking fights with you, that could be a major sign that you guys are just not compatible. I think it's really tempting to go back to people that we've previously been with because it's really comfortable. Trust me, I've been there, done that, and it can be really scary to think about starting over with someone brand new, but I feel like you may be limiting yourself by doing that. There are just so many other men in this world aside from this one single person that you dated previously, and there are so many other people out there who will be respectful and considerate towards you right away without you having to ask, and who won't cause you stress by picking fights with you. So if this person means enough for you to potentially risk going through all of that again, and maybe even worse, then that, of course, is up to you, but I just don't want you to forget about the fact that there are so many other fish in the sea, and fish who will treat you better. But maybe I'm just saying that because if I lived with someone who blended smoothies at 3 a.m., I would turn into the literal devil. All right, question 2. I am struggling with work. I'm 1 semester away from getting a master's degree in school counseling, but I don't know how long I can handle working in education. It's challenging to work so hard and get paid nothing, all while being treated horribly by students and parents. I'd love to leave the corporate world and do something more creative, but I feel like I have 0 talents and skills I could monetize. I'd love some advice because I really look up to you. You guys make me want to cry when you say things like that. Thank you. I think the key takeaway for me here is that this seems like something that is actively making you unhappy. And I think there's a really big difference between working a job that doesn't pay a lot but makes you feel really happy and fulfilled, and one that actively makes you unhappy. When you think about how much of our lives is spent working, I just really think life is too short to spend it in a job that's making you feel miserable. Something that could be helpful to you in just starting to brainstorm potential passions and career paths is to just start a running list of things that do make you really happy and do make you excited. I think that that can be a really good way to just constantly have that in the back of your mind so that when an idea sparks, you can write it down, and even if that one idea doesn't turn into a job, job or isn't something that would really make sense to be a job, that may spark other ideas down the road. And then in doing that, I think that that can help you to seek out opportunities that are related to those passions. So to just use myself as an example, I have always been obsessed with beauty. I have always loved it so much ever since I was little. So when I was working in the corporate world at Target, I would actively try to seek out jobs and experiences in the beauty area. So in every single role that I had at Target, because I never was in the beauty space, I made sure that my managers knew that that was a priority for me and that's really where I wanted to end up. And that then helped me to get connected to mentors and people that worked in the beauty space to get more exposure to that area. However, as time went on, I started to realize that the timing just wasn't likely to be set up in my favor, and it was going to be really difficult to make that transition from the area I was in to beauty. So I started to use social media as my outlet for that passion instead. And I started to accept that I was going to have to find other ways to immerse myself in the beauty space aside from my career, knowing that that was not likely to work out. Because even though the ideal in life, of course, is to have a job that you're passionate about, I also think it's totally okay if that is just not realistic for you. And that was really my thought process behind posting on social media in the first place. I never in a million years thought that this was going to turn into my job when I first started posting. I really was just trying to find a way to express myself and express those passions, knowing that I was not able to in my career. Sometimes I think it's just helpful to think about a job as an avenue to your passions, a way to help you fund those passions and pay the bills. Sometimes that's just what jobs need to be, and that's perfectly fine as long as it's not making you miserable. So if that list of passions that you start to write down doesn't really bring you anywhere in terms of a potential job or future career, then maybe another solution is to find a way to do those things that make you excited outside of your job while still continuing counseling, but just in a different space than education, knowing that that's where you feel you're treated so poorly. What book do you think everyone should read for personal growth? The two books that have been the most life-changing for me, not that I've read that many in the kind of motivational space, but the two that have made the biggest impact on me are The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield and Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I read The War of Art when I first started posting on social media a few years ago, when I was so uncomfortable with posting, self-conscious, unsure of myself. Every single day, honestly, was like a mental battle for me because I just felt so embarrassed. I was like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? I should quit. That book really helped to change the way that I thought about those things and the way that I thought about putting myself out there and trying to chase my dreams, as cheesy as that sounds. So if you are in a position like that, where there's something that you're trying to go after or create for yourself, that book is incredible. And then Untamed by Glennon Doyle is something that I just feel like everybody should read. I feel like that book is whatever you need it to be. Whatever you're going through in life, it will be applicable to you because it just encourages you to become the truest version of yourself. We're getting cheesy here today. What do you wish you could tell your high school self? I just started my senior year. I wish I could tell her to, oh my gosh, to just get through it, and that everything is going to be so much better on the other side. I just didn't love high school. I was on the dance team, so I had a really great group of friends through that, but aside from that, like in the broader sense of high school, outside of my little circle that was dance team, I feel like I just kind of felt out of place because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin yet. And I think that that's very common for a lot of high schoolers. And going to college changed everything for me after the inevitable growing pains of freshman year of college and just like trying to figure out where the heck you are and what it means to be in college. After that, I thrived there. I felt so free. I had so much fun. I really grew so much confidence. I feel like I just turned into a completely different person. So if you are in a similar position and you're not loving where you're at right now and you're feeling kind of lost and you don't really have a lot of confidence, know that everything is uphill from here and you will not see 95% of the people in your graduating class ever again. But if you are loving high school right now and you're just like feeling nervous about college, you don't want to leave your friends, that is very understandable. Really soak it up, spend as much time with your family and friends as you can, but know that if you have friendships that are really important to you, they will last through college and they will last a lifetime. I actually still have 3 best friends to this day that are from high school. We actually just got back from a trip to Boston together. So the friendships and relationships that are important to you will last, I promise. How do you move on after a breakup when you were supposed to get married? I feel like I wasn't good enough for him. We're going there with a blush today. First of all, that is a completely valid way to feel after a breakup. So just know that you're not alone in feeling that way, and there are so many other people who have felt or are currently feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. Rejection is a funny thing because I think it forces us to immediately look inward and question ourselves and wonder what we did wrong and why we aren't good enough, when in reality, we just weren't compatible with that person. And as hard as it may be, I think the thing that will be most helpful to you is to reframe the way that you think about this. Even though you felt like this was the person you were supposed to marry, it wasn't, or he would not have left you, or maybe that wasn't what happened. I guess I'm just assuming based on the way that this was worded. But either way, if this is the person you were supposed to marry, it would have worked out. The person that you're meant to marry will not leave your side. They won't make you feel like you're not good enough for them. They will always make you feel like you are more than enough for them. So instead of thinking about that person as the person you were supposed to marry, write down a list of all of the reasons why marriage would not have worked with him. And then write down a list of all of the things that that relationship made you realize you want in a future partner. For example, you want to be with somebody who makes you feel like you're enough. And then once you have those lists, you'll see a lot more clearly how it couldn't have been him. He could not have been your future husband. It wasn't going to work out. He was not the person for you, and that the person for you is out there. I promise. And keep that list on your notes app so that you can refer back to it if you are in a moment of feeling down. It helps a lot. How to get through mentally hard days or any other mental health advice. First, I want to share something that my therapist shared with me recently that has truly changed my life, not even being dramatic. I may not get this quote exactly right, but it was something like this. Worrying about the future is an invitation to come back to the present. And if you have made it to the future, if you're worrying or stressing about what's going to happen, you've gone too far. Isn't that good? So now if I am feeling super anxious about something, I force myself to pause and start identifying things in the present. It sounds super cheesy, but like, it's Thursday. I'm sitting down in this chair that feels not as comfortable as I'd like it to feel. I'm putting on eyeshadow. I'm breathing. I hear the dishwasher running. Things like that. And again, I know it sounds super cheesy and really simple, but something about that forces me back into the present and forces me to stop thinking about the future, and that really helps me to calm down. But other than that, there are a couple other things that I am currently loving. The first is listening to high frequency, is that right? High frequency sounds. I'll try to list something in the description box below. If you just type that into YouTube, there will be a bunch of videos that pop up. It's just this like bright, positive, high vibe kind of music. I don't even know if I would really call it music, but I will play that for like 10 minutes while I'm doing my red light therapy or while I do some deep breathing, and that is something that really helps me to calm down as well. Another thing that I recently discovered is something called EFT tapping, and I only very recently discovered it actually through another creator named Haley Hoffman. I don't know how I found her account or what it was that I was looking at of hers that helped me to discover this, but I know that she has a podcast and a YouTube video where she talks about EFT tapping and how much it helped to transform her life. And she recommended a creator here on YouTube named Brad Yates, who has tons of videos that are kind of like guides through EFT tapping that are all focused on different common life worries and themes. So I will list both of their accounts below so that you can get more information on EFT tapping, and then also walk through those guided videos with Brad, because again, I just feel like I don't know enough about it to really talk about it and do it justice. But it is something that has been super helpful to me, and it feels a lot less daunting and overwhelming than trying to sit and meditate for 20 minutes and just be alone with your thoughts. That's never really been something that has worked for me, probably because my brain is full of anxious thoughts, so I don't want to sit there and ruminate in them. So that's why this has been really helpful, because it's not like that at all. He has some videos that are like 5 minutes long, 10 minutes, whatever you need, and you're actively talking through it. So you're not really able to like sit and spiral if you're someone that spirals like me. And then the last recommendation that I'll give is something that I have had to make an effort to be more mindful about recently, and that is just being really careful about the content that I consume. If I'm having an off day, watching a TV show or a movie or listening to a podcast or listening to music that brings my energy down can really, really make my mood worse. So I make an effort to avoid anything that makes me feel that way, and I will only consume content that makes me feel happy. So I literally have a Google Doc of a bunch of throwback, like feel-good movies, and I will only watch things like that. So things like A Cinderella Story and The Devil Wears Prada, like strictly movies in that genre, because they make me feel so good. They're so nostalgic and happy. Like, as much as I love true crime stuff, watching documentaries like that, can really be a downer. And then for music, as much as I love alternative kind of rainy day type music, I won't listen to music like that if I'm not feeling great, and I will only listen to like upbeat country, or I have this playlist on Spotify with 90s music, like girl bands, boy bands, things that make me smile and make me happy. And I love to read, so I will make an effort to do that on days when I'm not feeling great as well. That was a little bit all over the place, but I hope that helps. All right, I have a bit of a crush on my coworker, but I have been dating my boyfriend for over 2 years now. Obviously, I love him, but I constantly feel myself straying in my head. Is this normal, or a sign that I might not be fully invested in the relationship? I'm only 22 and he is my first real relationship, and I'm so confused. Okay, first of all, it's completely normal to find other people attractive while you are in a relationship. Like, it's not reasonable to expect that if Ryan Gosling walks into the room, you're gonna turn a blind eye and be like, no, not into it. Come on. But I do think that there's a difference between that and what it sounds like you're describing here, which is constantly straying and constantly thinking about another person. If that is happening, it might be a sign that the person that you're with is just not who you're meant to be with forever. And that is completely okay and normal, because you're only 22 years old. Odds are very high that the person that you're with right now is not somebody that's going to be compatible with you forever. That's why the divorce rate's so high. How can I raise my self-confidence? I'm gonna get up on my soapbox here. I am a firm believer in talking yourself up, hyping yourself up, thinking positive thoughts about yourself, even if it feels really weird at first, and even if you don't believe yourself at first. For some reason, that scene from Mean Girls popped into my head where they're all looking in the mirror and listing off things that they don't like about themselves. And after like the 3 original girls have finished, they look at Caddy like, okay, your turn. What do you not like about yourself? Because she hadn't said anything yet. And the reason why I even bring that up is because I feel like it's such a good representation of this theme that has been ingrained in our brain since we were little, that it's not okay to talk positively about yourself, and instead you have to actively search for things that you dislike. Like, that is what is accepted. And that's just such a toxic way to live, and it breeds insecurity. I used to look at myself in the mirror and tear myself apart. And don't get me wrong, it still is something that I try to actively correct to this day, but I really was my own worst critic. And I think most of us are, until we start actively trying to change the way that we think. So I now have gotten a lot better at replacing thoughts like that with positive thoughts. So let's do an example. If you are going through a breakup and you're feeling down and out, not confident in yourself, it's so important to try to shut off those negative thoughts and stop searching for the things that are wrong about you, that aren't good enough, that would make it difficult for you to find another partner, and instead search for things that are great about yourself and tell those things to yourself and repeat them whenever you're not feeling great about yourself. And it definitely takes time for that to become a more natural thing. But if you start paying attention to the way that you talk to yourself and the negative things that you say about yourself, and make an effort to correct the things that don't feel good and replace them with good things, you will definitely start building confidence slowly but surely every day. Also, something I am really big on is not allowing myself to talk in ifs or I hopes, and instead talking about everything definitively, like I know it's going to happen, even if I don't. So, for example, when my social media accounts first started growing, I would not allow myself to have thoughts like, oh, I just hope that this will be my job someday, but I don't know, it seems so unrealistic. I doubt that I ever could, but I hope, I wish that would be so great. No. Instead, I would tell myself, I will be a full-time content creator. And let me tell you, I did not believe myself even a little bit when I first started saying that. I actually remember being really afraid to actually admit that to myself, even in my head, because it seemed so unrealistic. And I was so afraid that if I admitted it and it didn't happen, I don't know what I thought. I was just so scared of that. But there's just something about refusing to accept those what ifs and I hopes and maybes, and instead writing down what will happen for you and repeating that in your head and saying it out loud so that other people can hear it, that forces you to take action to make it a reality. I still remember the exact conversation when I first admitted out loud to a couple of my friends that I wanted to be a full-time content creator. When I told them that, it was July of 2020, and I remember telling them, I want to be doing this full time by April 2020. I don't know why April, that just was like in my head is what needed to happen. And at that time, I had no legitimate reason to believe that that would be a reality for me or even be possible for me. I had like 13,000 subscribers on YouTube. I wasn't making any money on social media. I really had no business saying that at all. But I just kept writing it down. I kept saying it out loud. I kept taking steps, of course, to make that a reality. It's not like I just said it and hoped for it and then sat back. I was pumping out content like a crazy person. There was something about writing that down and seeing it on paper and telling my friends that lit a fire under me and would not allow me to stop. And then once April 2020 hit and I realized I was actually able to put in my 2 weeks at my corporate job, I obviously was so overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I did it. But I wasn't shocked because I had built so much confidence along the way by telling myself I could and I would, and telling other people that too. So that was a very long-winded backstory and explanation, but I say all of that because I really believe that whether it's a lack of confidence that you have in your appearance or your ability to make new friends or find a partner or reach your fitness goals or career goals, whatever it is, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to talk positively about yourself, tell yourself you can and you will, and when those negative thoughts pop up, because they will, because we're human, to shut them down immediately and just not even allow yourself to entertain it. It's life-changing. All right, second to last question. There is a really cute guy who works for my brother whom I'm totally crushing on since he's super funny and charming, but I'm a very shy person in real life. How do I subtly let him know that I'm interested? Girl, show us a picture of what he looks like. I think this depends on how often you see him in person. Because if you see him in person a lot, then you could start to amp up the in-person interactions, even if it feels scary at first. I promise you can do it. Start asking more personal questions, really holding intentional eye contact, being extra smiley around him, you know, those like visual cues that you're interested. Otherwise, if you don't see him in person a lot or that just feels way too scary to you, I think the next best move is to follow him on social media, like on Instagram, and reply to one of his Instagram stories. You know, slide in. All right, this last question is very long, so let me put on my lips and I'll be right back. Oh, that's a good lip combo. MAC Modesty, of course, topped with the Makeup by Mario lip serum in Mauve Glow. Look at it. Look at it. All right, last question. This is a fun one. I need help choosing between two men. Guy A and Guy B. They both possess certain qualities that I have been looking for. The time has come where they are wanting to be exclusive / be in a relationship. I was honest with them from the start that I am casually dating and keeping my options open to test the waters. I do have feelings for both of them, but I kept my guard up as I knew I was casually dating and didn't want to get too attached. Smart. Guy A has been in my life for about 11 years. We've always been interested in each other since we met, but it was more of a slow-growing connection because of outside factors that are no longer factors. We have gone on multiple dates and weekend trips over the years, but we were never in the right place or time to take the next step, but now we are. We are finally back in the same city and are ready to settle down. Guy B has been in my life for 1 year, and we've been on and off for most of that time. I've never felt such a quick, strong connection that I have with him, but it seemed to fizzle out every few months and come back. We have gotten into some disagreements that have caused us to stop talking for a few months at a time. Typically, that would be my red flag that it won't last or that that's his true colors, but I am continuously drawn back to him and can't stop thinking about him. Over the last few months, he has been consistent and made changes to the issues that he had and has went above and beyond trying to prove that we are the right match. We have a lot in common and he fits a type that I typically can't find. Both of them are great men, but I can't decide who I should be with. Guy A, who has always been there, no disagreements, one that I've known for years and get along great with, or Guy B, who is somewhat of a wild card in terms of how long we would go again without a disagreement. While our connection is strong, is it just toxic because we are drawn to each other because we have the same lifestyle? Help, I am split 50-50. Oh my God, this is so hard. I wish I knew more about the disagreements with Guy B. Like, what's causing you to fight so badly that you don't talk for a few months after the fact? I agree with what you said, that is something that should be looked at as a red flag. And when you said you had a really quick, strong connection with him, I do feel like that immediately made me put my guard up and already getting protective, because I feel like feeling that way can often make us ignore red flags because we're like, okay, sure, we fight, but the connection. Trust me, I've been there. Like I was saying in the beginning though, I do think that people can change. So if he really has been making a huge effort to prove that he has changed and he's not going to behave in that way anymore, and you haven't seen any signs of that since, that's positive. But I also feel like the way that this is worded makes it sound like you may be settling for Guy A. And maybe I'm reading into this wrong, but I feel like you don't sound as excited about him, and the reason why he's in the mix is because he is that stable that Guy B is not. And you know that he'll always be there, or always has been. And don't get me wrong, I think that it's so important to have a consistent, stable, reliable partner, but I also think it's very important to make sure that you have a true romantic connection with that partner. So why do I want to say neither? If Guy A is somebody that you truly in your heart know that you have romantic feelings for, then Guy A sounds like the way to go. But if not, which I'm kind of guessing may be the case, be careful with Guy B. And maybe, I don't know, maybe go on Hinge, go on a few more dates. There are other fish in the sea, and maybe that'll help you to realize that, you know what, the instability with Guy B is not worth it. There are other people out there who I feel strongly about, who are consistent, or maybe throughout that, it will help you to see that Guy B has changed. I don't know. All right, you guys, we are going to wrap up this video here. I really hope that you enjoyed it. You know the drill. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, click on that notification bell, and send my channel to a friend that you think would enjoy my content. Thank you so much for doing those things. Your support means the world. Thank you for watching my videos. I love the freaking heck out of you guys. Stay tuned for my next one because that will be up in a few days. But until then, I hope you have a great few days.